Hello, friends with the same common goal, getting traffic to our websites. This is part 2 of 4 of your very special e-course. Hi, I'm Tish Henderson, and today we're going to talk about simple ways to know your audience and increase your website traffic. 1. You need to understand who your product or service is for. The other thing is you need to know how they will use your product or service. That's very important. And then 3, are others offering a similar product or service to yours? So when you want to understand who your product or service is for, this is part of getting to know your audience. And you really want to drill down on some demographics. And those things are whether or not they're male or female, if it's primarily for male or primarily for female. You may think about what colors you use, what fonts you use, and the type of language that you might use. Is this for kids or no kids? If it's a kid-friendly product, again, you might think about the colors and the graphics and the content, the language that you might use. If it's for a male or female with no kids, then you might think of that single-minded person and what kinds of things that they would like to hear in language and visually. Also, is the product for a person who's younger, mature, or slightly older? Again, this will help you in how you will communicate to them or communicate with them, the type of language you will use with them, the video quality and content. If it's an older person, you may consider using font that's significantly larger than a 12-point font, just because reading is a little bit more challenging on the computer as we get older. So you might want to consider that. You may also want to consider, if it's a really older person, if it's a nostalgic type product, you might want to think about doing some research online for things that were prevalent back in the 50s or the 60s or even the 40s, just so that you can draw some type of relationship with that audience and help them to make a connection with you. Is your audience primarily in the USA? If they are, then you want to use language that is geared toward a US audience. Oftentimes we'll see products that are provided by a British audience, let's say. And sometimes you may use an S. They may use an S instead of a Z, and I often get caught up in the S and the Z and the language and the way that it's written, and sometimes it makes me lose focus on the actual product. So you want to be considerate of the audience that you're producing for, because you want them to be one-minded. You want them to be singular and focused particularly on the product that you're offering. I know that when I did talk about that in a conference recently, a gentleman said that it didn't matter if they wrote in their language. For instance, British people wrote in their language. Look at the Harry Potter series. The other thing you got to consider is knowing your audience. The Harry Potter series is fiction, so you can use, and it's designed to be interpreted in another language. So while it is in another language and American audiences enjoyed it tremendously, you also have to consider that it is fiction. So you can, when you read the book or you watch the movie, you almost think about it in the ways that you would interpret it, not necessarily what you're seeing all of the time. So with fiction and stories and stuff like that, you can be a little bit more creative. When you're presenting a business product, you want to make sure you're creating the business product, the graphics, the font, everything geared toward the audience that it's intended to drive traffic to your particular website or offering. You don't want to distort the message with not the right language or not the right graphics, etc. Education level. Again, if you're writing a technical piece and it's designed for Harvard graduates, then you want to make sure you write in a technical language. If you're trying to make something a little bit that's a little complicated, a little bit more simple, then of course you've got to use fundamental language so that people can understand what it is you're trying to deliver. Also, how will they use your product or service? This is also a part of getting to know your audience. Okay, will they use your product or service to become more productive? Are they using your product or service to care for an aging loved one, or they want to know more about how to buy a pet? what kinds of questions you would ask when you're buying a pet, what type of pet to buy for their particular lifestyle. They may have questions about that when they're purchasing a pet, and maybe your website offers a service or a product that will help them get closer to knowing more about that. Whether or not they're trying to lose weight, there's plenty of products out there for losing weight, whether you're eating in a particular way or exercising in a particular way. And with the hundreds of products that are out there, there's still hundreds, thousands of people who will claim one product worked better than the other for whatever reason. That product tapped into their weight loss desires. Getting out of debt. Likewise, there's lots of products about getting out of debt. So how are you presenting that product? What language are you speaking in? What graphics are you showing? What audience are you gearing this product to? Is it a younger audience, an older audience? Is it a senior audience who found themselves now into the retirement stage and still in a lot of debt? You've got to communicate with them better. There's got to be resources and products out there that is geared specifically to them. So not all getting out of debt products are going to be for everyone. There's got to be a way that you can know your audience enough to drill down into that product and present it to them in such a way that when you put your information out there, they'll look at it and say, this is the answer for me, and then click on the links that'll drive them to your website. Buying a new car, lots of car salesmen out there, whether they're buying a new car or a used car, there's different things that they may want to know in terms of buying a new car. Buying a home is the same way. Are you buying a new home, a vacation home, an investment property? All of the things that you would do for buying each type of home would be different. So they're not all one and the same. If your website is geared toward buying a home, you should specifically gear towards either buying a new home or buying a home, not a new home, not built from the ground up, or buying a vacation home. Are they buying a vacation home outside of their state where they live? That's also a whole nother product or service that you can offer. Planning a vacation, is it a local vacation? Are they going overseas? Is it a cruise? What kind of vacation is it? You may need to give specific information on packing, what types of things to pack, what requirements each country may need, different things of that nature. How would you present that information in such a way that when someone sees anything about that information, they know that you have the answers for them and they're clicking on the link that will drive them to your site? That's what you do to drive traffic, getting that traffic to your site. What if someone's opening a store, a local retail store in their area? You may have some information about that, whether it's how to join the local chamber of commerce, what things to get involved in when doing that, how do you do a grand opening for a store, things of that nature. You may have that kind of information, the correct ways to construct an ad in your local market and where to place them and how to place them. You may have information on that. Starting a church. There's lots of people out here who are interested in starting churches. They may feel they have the calling, and you may feel like you have the information about how to start a church. And you can share that information, whether you want to start a smaller church and you can give information about starting a smaller church, or maybe you have a church and you want to grow that church. That's different information. Helping landscapers get more business, how to market their business, how to put themselves out there as more qualified over other landscapers. The Kindle market is huge now, and okay, I didn't capitalize Kindle, but I should have. So anyway, but you want to write a Kindle book and you're not quite sure how to do that. This stuff is important. You have to really know what they're going to use your product or service for. And when you know that, you're knowing your audience a lot deeper, not just surface information, whether they're male or female, or whether they have an education or not. That's the first level. That's the surface level. Now you're digging into why they need your product. Maybe you can help them sell more on eBay. They're on eBay already, but they need to know how to sell more on eBay. So your product, instead of talking to them about how to get on eBay to sell products, your product will tell them how to sell more on eBay.